Hello and welcome. Happy Halloween, everybody. This is the Transform Your Relationship show. I'm Laura Rubinstein here with the wonderful Dr. Rhoberta Shaler. Hi, Rhoberta.
Hi, Laura, and happy Halloween. This is a spooky day.
It is a spooky day. We're here again, October 31st, Halloween. What is everybody doing? Please let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear. But today's topic, we thought we'd align with the day that it is, which is emotional vampires, the tricks and treats of them, and what we mean by tricks is like the trick to navigating a relationship with somebody who's an emotional vampire. And well, first of all, let's start off with Roberta. How do I identify an emotional vampire?
Well, they'll suck you dry. That's one of the first things you'll know you're exhausted. You're emotionally exhausted from trying to please them, trying to second guess them, second guessing yourself, questioning your sanity, figuring out. I mean, many people who are victims of emotional vampires or the prey of emotional vampires are of the mind that say, if only I were more patient, more compassionate, more loving, more nurturing, less demanding, then it would be different. But it isn't. A vampire is a vampire.
Well, yes. So we're driving ourselves crazy when we think about these emotional vampires. We are trying to navigate this and but we don't ever think it's them. Is that
Well, the thing about emotional vampires is they're really selective in their prey. They choose people who are going to second guess themselves. They choose people who want to super please other people. They choose people that accommodate other people and put themselves at the bottom of their list. So they make sure they get a head start. They've already chosen someone that they can squash like a gnat. And so if you find yourself feeling squashed like a gnat, this is the day to go, whoa, maybe I'm with an emotional vampire. Maybe it's not me.
you need a reality check?
Yes, a
How do
big
we
reality
how do
check.
we get that reality check? How do we take it?
Well, I'm going to tell you that I have a free ebook called How to Spot a Hijackal. And I make that free because there are so many people who are suffering in silence. And what a hijackal does is they kind of cull you from your friends and cull you from your family. And they go swooping into your friends and family and tell a lie about you to them to get your friends and family on their side, leaving you alone and lonely and not heard. And so, if this is happening in your relationship, you will know that because you're always feeling wounded. Nobody's believing you. So, one of the things an emotional vampire does is after culling you from the herd, they start telling you that everything is your fault. You are a not worthy person. Nobody would want you. They don't care if you leave because you'll go out there and you'll be even lonelier and you'll find out what a miserable person you are. So they've got all these scripts that they feed you. And if you started out maybe just wanting to be a wonderful, nice, loving person who was willing to go the extra mile for someone, and now they've beaten you down into submission and you don't know who you are anymore, and you're starting to believe them, that's the time to wake up and smell the herbal tea, right? Like, okay, maybe I need to step way back and figure out this is not my fault. Maybe even you can only get to the place was maybe there's fault on both sides. Maybe that's as far as you can get, but do get the balance back to say, let me at least look to see, is there in reality any way that I deserve to be treated this poorly?
Mm. Yeah, nobody deserves to be treated poorly, period. I love that you have a download. Is this where people should go?
Yes, exactly. You'll see a
Hijackal.
big button there that says get the free ebook, and do that for sure. And the reason for that, Laura, is that they have traits, patterns, and cycles that when you're in it, you can't see them. You're only feeling them and you're feeling worse and worse about them. But reading the ebook will allow you to step back, like I was saying, and realize that, oh, this person is behaving in these traits, patterns, and cycles. Therefore, I need to know that when they do that, it's not about me, it's about them.
And when people do that, having been on the end of that a few times, it's really important to do a lot of self-care, a lot of self-nurturing, taking care of yourself and surrounding yourself with additional people who actually celebrate you, treat you really well. It almost feels like you're not deserving because you're so used to this bad behavior going
Mhm.
on, and you've almost started believing that you deserve that treatment. And it's a real psychological number that is done on especially a sensitive person. So if you tend to know yourself as a sensitive person, then honor that, because being able to give yourself the nurturing and surrounding yourself with people who can actually say some good, positive, kind, generous, warm, and loving things to you
And
would be,
believe them.
and believe them, and yeah, and then take that in. You've got to like counteract it like a thousandfold to one. And it's really, I don't know how to impress it enough. It's the only thing that's really helped me get me through it faster. Um, at one point I took myself to Hawaii, to get over certain things. It's just, if you have to, you have to. It's so important to take care of ourselves, because they're not going to, they're only going to chip away at that part of you, and if we let them. So that's another thing. Let's talk about how we can not let them do that.
Yeah, well, what you're saying is so important. But a person who is a partner or an ex or the child of a hijackal will really question whether or not they deserve to take care of themselves. So that's a big thing. If the first thing that you thought when Laura said that was, "Oh, I don't have time for that," then notice that you're at the bottom of your pile. And when you're at the bottom of your pile, it's not going to work out so well. You've got to get yourself to a place of saying, I am important enough to take care of. I will demonstrate that I'm honest with myself, that I can trust myself, that I respect myself, that I'm safe with myself, and I'm reliable to myself. I do what I say I'll do. Because how many times do we have that demonstration? We say, oh, I'm going to do this for myself, and then you don't do it. And every time you do that, you're telling yourself a message. So Laura's advice is really good. Don't tell yourself that message. That say, no, I'm important and I take good care of me. And that's a great start.
And part of taking great care of your own self is surrounding oneself with people who can give you, if you can't think it yourself, the good stuff about you, please get a cheerleader. I've asked friends, and I've found new friends, to say, hey, can I call you up when I'm feeling pretty crappy? And can I just say, can you tell me something good about myself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about that last time too, because that works in several circumstances. So if you want more about that, listen to the last show. But when we're kind of groomed for this, and hijackals will groom you further to accept their abuse. And make no mistake about it, it's abuse, and we need to call it what it is. When somebody is purposefully looking to have power over you, it's abusive. In fact, let's look at the whole Harvey Weinstein thing and all of the pieces that have come out recently and the Me Too campaign. Many of those people, I don't know them personally, but my guess would be that they have hijackal traits and patterns and cycles, that they're bullying because they think they can be, that they want power over people because they can get it. They want power over, and they withhold their affection or their influence or whatever they do. These are all hijackal things to do. And so we're seeing it played out in the media right now, where people want power over others. And finally, in this case, women. And of course, that young man, Anthony Rappo yesterday, he stood up and said a man abused him, Kevin Spacey to be exact, the standing up and saying no more. It's not only Me Too, it's no more.
Thank you. And the more we speak up about it, and the more we are not embarrassed about it, or, can say things about it, the better chance we have to lessen the perpetrations, the abuse. I don't know that it ever goes away. One could only hope. But we have to face it and say it's not right. and say it's not allowed. It is not okay. You can't get away with this anymore. It feels, with hijackals, we talk, and we may want to do a whole show on this, on setting boundaries, what that looks like and what it feels like, and how do you actually do it? Because it's one of the hardest things to do when you're so not used to setting boundaries. And a hijackal has no tolerance for boundaries.
Well, a hijackal has no tolerance, but they're also going to go, who do you think you are? I do what I want. You little peon down there telling me I can't do it. Who do you think you are? And, if that sounds like an old parent tape, when you hear my voice say that, it likely is. There was likely a parent who said, who do you think you are? Why do you think you can ask with that? Whoever gave you permission to think you were that important? If those are old tapes that you have in your life that came from your early home life, then you're going to be a little bit set up to become hijackal bait. They're going to say, there's one I can manipulate. That'll be easier. Although there's a really strange phenomenon. Hijackals are so arrogant. They always think they're the smartest person in any room. They're so arrogant that they actually will take on the challenge of really strong people who are very successful. And then they will notice if they have a soft underbelly, and they'll start carving into the underbelly, trying to take down a successful, strong person. So they're so arrogant that they will do that, right? So if you have a very soft underbelly that they can get to, that is not covered in boundaries, that are expressed and maintained, then they'll do that to you too.
I used to say, and this is before I ever knew your term about a hijackal, there are people who are, I call, master manipulators. And I would say never, ever try to out manipulate the master manipulator. You will lose every single time.
Yes, you will. And you'll feel worse and worse and worse every time you try.
So my strategy, and it may not be effective for everybody or available to everybody, was to run away. Basically, don't try to out manipulate them. Just like set that boundary of like, okay, if they cross that line, we're no more. We're just, I can't deal with that. I remember saying to one guy, you're gonna have to love me from a distance because, I know you can't help yourself, basically.
Well, and that's a very good way to think about it. You can love people from a distance. I always used to say, drop kick them to Portugal and love them from there, until somebody said to me, what do you have against Portugal? But it's really important to know your boundaries. And, it's almost an overused term these days, so people kind of let it gloss by. But what it means is that you know what's okay with you and what's not okay with you and what you would prefer. And so you simply say, this is not okay with me. I would prefer this. And that's how you set a boundary. And then if you set that boundary and somebody doesn't pay attention to it or runs over it, then you say, this doesn't work for me. I would prefer this. And if this doesn't happen, I will do that. So there, you add consequences after they've had a couple of times to try and get it right. If they're still not, if they have a severe failure to learn, then you have to have some consequences. And then don't waver. Do it. Do not at that moment go, oh, well, you want another chance? No, bam, like night in the Amazon. No more. I said that was the edge. That's the edge. We're done.
The word prefer, I want to ask you about, because the word prefer doesn't say is not a request. It's like, I prefer this, but you could do whatever you want, In other words, you could run over my boundary. I would say, this is what I need and this is what I want. Can you agree to this? I don't.
Yeah, I think that's part of the process, but I'm talking about, and yes, I put it that way. But I'm saying within yourself, you need to know what you prefer so that you can express it. Like maybe it would be better to say, and this is what needs to happen. But I think we need to do things in a systematic way when we're first standing up to hijackal. So this is what I would prefer. Sure, the hijackal is going to say, well, who cares? right? But you're learning and empowering and strengthening yourself. So the next time you might say, this is what I need to have happen. Would you agree? The hijackal is going to say no, but you're not doing it for the hijackal's good. You're doing it for your good. You're learning to be self-confident and assertive and grow into the space that you have their absolute right to take up. And so many people say to me, like I had somebody on my YouTube channel write a little reply, a little comment to a YouTube, and she said, well, I tried the personal weather report and my hijackal said, oh, isn't that interesting? And who cares? And I wrote back to her and said, well, that's fine. That's what hijackals do. Where the strength of that is now you do things differently. Now you can say, this is not all right with me. This is what I want. This is what I feel. This is what I need. This is what I'm thinking. And you just move into that right to take up space and draw breath and be assertive about that. Hijackal's not going to do anything. In today's show, the Relationship Help Show, I'm so excited. I got my new time slot at dinner time. And it
Nice.
starts today, 6 p.m. on BBS Radio, the Relationship Help Show. And I have a brand new format. So I was answering a question from somebody who wrote in on my Facebook group. And she was asking, basically, I filed for divorce and now my partner's saying, I'll go to counseling, I'll go to church, I'll do anything you want. She said, should I believe it? Whoa, no. No. Remember back in the beginning of your relationship when he told you you were the most wonderful thing that he never expected could possibly have in his life, and he love bombed you like crazy, and you were just like, oh, I've met my soulmate, this is kismet, this is fabulous. And then slowly the relationship eroded, and now after all these years you file for divorce and he love bombs you again, and you're asking me whether you should believe him. What evidence in reality do you possibly have that you can believe him?
Nothing, not a zero zip zilch. In fact, that's evidence of the opposite.
Exactly.
It's of that, he's exactly who you think he is and has been and always will be.
That's right, because hijackals seldom change. People ask me that question all the time. And if you've been raised by a hijackal, you may become a hijackal. You'll definitely become hijackal bait if you don't become a hijackal. But there's a little gray area in which from such an early age, you learned how to be a hijackal. You may not be expressing it, but you learn, and then you have those skills, kind of hidden skills, and then sometimes they show up and now you think you're the hijackal, right? Those people I can help if they're behaving like a hijackal, but they're not a hijackal, and I can help you know the difference. So sometimes if you have those skills that got sort of put in you like malware when you were being programmed, if that's the thing, we can expunge those from your record and erase them off your hard drive. But if you are a full-blown hijackal, they are not going to change. I'd love to tell you they will. Sometimes when they get a lot older, they mellow a little bit, but mellowing a little bit is not worth waiting for.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one. That navigating the relationships with difficult people that are so consumed by this power, or really it's by fear to me. I really feel sorry for them because they can't have an authentic, really heartfelt relationship where people aren't scared of them, or they're not under the thumb. And it's cutting off like 90% of their life and vitality. And it also cuts off the other people. So navigating them is tricky. If you love a hijackal, love yourself more. That's the
Yeah.
treat. So the tricks is, you've given a lot of tricks, and the treat is treat yourself really well.
Yeah, and I put up a lot of graphics, and anybody who wants to see all of that, go to my page on Facebook, Relationship Help Doctor, or go to my new page, Hijackals. Just put in Hijackals. And the reason I put up that page is I wanted a place where all other people, whether they're with a hijackal or not, can go and they can share the graphics, because there are so many people who are suffering in silence and they don't realize what they're suffering with. And if you put up a meme like that, a graphic that just gives them an idea that goes, whoa, I never thought about it like that, you can help me help folks stop tolerating abuse. So if you like those kinds of things, go and put there we go. So there's today, when hijackals give you candy, which is what that woman was asking me. Now I've filed for divorce and now he's giving me candy. Know that it is more trick than treat. And when you bite into it, there's going to be a razor blade in there. And that's the sad truth, right? That the tricks are that they suck you into believing they're changing, while they're going to change again and revert back to the difficult person that they are, the relentlessly difficult person that they are. But they know that they're not, they have that as a tool in their toolbox. Oh, I can go back and mimic a person with empathy. If you're putting up graphics, there's one there that says, the one with the boots on it, that what they do is if they have empathy at all, which one person who people like to listen to suggests they do, they have a feelingless empathy. And so they put themselves in your shoes just long enough to see where you stand and take advantage of it with no care for your feelings. So again, this person who wrote in, she filed for divorce. It made him get into her shoes and go, what have I heard her say that she wants me to do? She wants me to go to church. She wants me to go to counseling. She wants me to go to get help with my addiction to pot. She wants me to do all those things. If I do those things, then she'll like me and she'll stop the divorce proceedings. That's as far as hijackers can go with empathy.
They're not in it for you. They're in it for to keep their little world in place. And yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful um, site you have there, a Facebook page, Hijackals. So facebook.com/hijackals. And it's really supportive. And yeah, I like that. They want to keep you under the thumb to keep their world in place, their fears and the way they built it. And it's really sad.
Yeah, and let me say something about that, Laura, because it's absolutely true. Hijackals are people too, and they're petrified. The majority of them are petrified, and they would never, ever admit that. But they're afraid they don't know how to survive. The only tools they have are survival tools. They're showing them to you. That's the only thing that they know, is to have power and control over absolutely everything, and then they'll be okay. So that's where the ruthlessness comes from. That's where the brutality comes from. That's where the abuse comes from, is that they are just simply trying to be okay. And that's the only way they know to do it. But because it was instilled in them so young, they're not opening to changing that. And they're not open, but B, it would be very difficult for them to change that. They could have a head understanding of what they need to change, but to recoup and have feelings, very, very unlikely.
So take good care of you. Go to the Hijackals page. Go to get the Hijackals download at hijackals.com. If you're dealing with hijackals in the workplace and you have some strategies, but you want to be able to proceed and thrive anyway, let's talk. I'm not going to deal with the hijackal, but I'll deal with your marketing strategies.
Well, something else that you can help them deal with is that self-care piece. If you don't really believe that you deserve to take good care of yourself, then talk to Laura. She knows how to change your attitude towards yourself. And that's part of what I do too. But that soft finding of yourself where you can be good to yourself, you do a lot of that work, don't you?
I do. In fact, I was thinking about our topic today, the tricks and the treats. So you've specialized in the tricks of navigating hijackals, and I'm specializing in the treat of how to treat yourself through the process of that and also thrive. So I help you move through it when you have the tools that Dr. Shaler has so eloquently given us and has these beautiful images on the Hijackal page, and you have Facebook groups and you have the show. So you said it's today at 6 p.m. Pacific, right? Is that Pacific?
Pacific time on
Okay.
BBS Radio. So bbsradio.com/relationship help show. And you can listen to the archives there too. Today is episode 17. So there's lots of good stuff for you there already.
Woohoo. So we're not leaving you anywhere alone. You've got support. You should know that. You're not crazy. You're amazing. You deserve to take up space. I love your phrase, Roberta, about that. And we will be back with you for another show in a couple weeks. And feel free to leave us your questions at Transform Your Relationships Live here on Facebook, or be in touch with us, hijackals.com, or for Roberta, you can get even a complimentary consult there at For Relationship Help, my blog with all kinds of great tips here, and access to resources is at transformtoday.com.
Great. So treat yourself well and stay away from the tricks.
And have a happy
Happy Halloween.
Halloween.